Hi everyone, this is Arkady Frekhtman. I'm a New York City personal injury trial attorney, and I wanted to share with you today just a few things that I'm seeing from certain clients. I feel like some people are just overly worried about their case and overly worried about how long it's going to take, and also too worried about how much they're going to get. And they need some sort of reassurance or positive feedback. And there has to be a balance, because sometimes, of course, as a client, you want to be involved in the case. You want to understand what's happening. You definitely want to have good communication between you and your attorney, and you want to make sure your attorney is doing the right job, and you want to make sure your attorney is a competent attorney that knows what they're doing. But you don't want to be overly worried about what's going to happen, and almost like it turns you into some kind of jelly where you're always worried, you're always calling, you're always texting, because then it kind of just destroys the case. And I'll give you some examples. Like, I was actually helping this one client, and he has a pretty good case. He was hit by a truck. He has serious injuries. He has 2 procedures, types of surgeries. And he says to me, "Oh, I want the case settled. I want the case settled now." Well, you got to understand, like, the whole thing is a process, right? You can't just go like this and settle the case. I mean, I wish we could, right? Because then we would almost be like magicians. But it's almost more like you're planting a seed, and that seed is going to turn into a little, a little tree maybe. And then that tree is going to get bigger and bigger. And then by the time it's fully grown, then it's ready. Then you have something, right? Whether it's a tree or a flower. You can't plant the seed and be like, "Oh, one day passed, I want the tree, I want the flower now, I want the tree now." It just doesn't work that way. So anyway, he wanted the case settled. So I wrote a letter, which was a pretty good settlement opportunity letter, in the fashion that I've talked about before, the way that I frame it, where I say, "Hey, pay me X. If you don't, then it's going to be much more. If you don't pay like $1 million, it's going to be like $3 million at the time of trial." And this case was very early on. A lawsuit was filed. There haven't even been any depositions. And then he keeps calling and saying, "I don't feel good because I don't have positive feedback." And then basically we reach out to the insurance adjuster, we reach out to the defense lawyer, and they say, "Look, we're interested in offering a settlement. We're interested in going to mediation." Then the defense lawyer speaks to the carrier and says, "Look, we're going to settle this case, and we're actually in the same numbers as what the client wanted, but we have to wait until the deposition, which is like in a few weeks, right? Like in 2 weeks." And then I'm telling the client, just wait like a few weeks. Let's prepare for the deposition so you testify as well as you can. And then after the deposition, they both said they're going to pay you the money that you want. But he says, no, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to go to another attorney. I'm like, "Okay, well, look, it's up to you." And then the whole reason was because of this positive feedback. And he's saying, "Well, how come you cannot give me this offer? I really want to see an offer." But it's silly, because if I'm to call the carrier now, when I already sent them a letter, and my letter was for a substantial amount, it was close to $1 million. And then the letter said, "If you don't pay me, then it's going to be like $3 million at the time of trial." And I've already postured and set up the case in that framework. For me to call them now and ask them for any offer, and they've already told me they're going to pay the serious money after depositions. And you have to understand, depositions are when the insurance company and their lawyers get to find out what the case is all about. They get to talk to the injury victim and find out, what's your name? What's your medical history? Have you had any prior accidents? How did this accident happen? Where were you going? Where were you coming from? What's your family life? What everything about you, and everything about your doctors and your injuries. What can't you do now? What was your first medical treatment? Did you go to the hospital? What was the next one? Everything. So of course, if they're going to pay out serious money, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, they want to be able to chat with you. But he was very gung-ho about this. And I just think it's a surefire way to just destroy the case, because if you get too worried, if you get too nervous, if you're hopping around from lawyer to lawyer to lawyer, there's not going to be any benefit. And even here, look, the deposition is in a few weeks, literally 2-3 weeks away. Do the deposition, a week later we could have the case settled. If you go to another firm, by the time they even get the file, it's going to be more than a few weeks. now the depositions, you can't just reschedule depositions. Like say you have a deposition like January 5th, you can't just reschedule for January like 8th. The next date for everybody involved might be in like April, so everything's gonna get delayed. I tried to explain it, but I don't know, some people just don't wanna listen. And it seems like it's like a recurring theme. I'm seeing it with other people, maybe because the holidays are coming and people just need money. In other years, I've seen when the holidays come around Christmas time, people are really gung-ho about taking money against their cases. And I don't recommend that either, because if you take too much money, then you end up paying back these funding companies. But I understand people need a little bit of money, like $5,000, $3,000, whatever. But this year, it seems like people are just like worried about their cases. And I'm getting these calls like, I need my case settled today, but you gotta understand, it's a process and it can't be done like that. And in that example, with this particular client, the one I was thinking of, it was just interesting because, his case is actually like a good case. He could actually get the money that he wants. And this idea of getting an offer, like having an offer, and that'll give him some kind of, assurance or allow him to be more confident. But you don't want to like bet against yourself, right? And you don't want to be like begging and pleading. And if they've already told you, hey, we're going to pay the money, and you've already told them, hey, my number is close to $1 million and it's going to actually go up if you miss the deadline, why would you then call them back and say like, I need some kind of offer? You sound desperate. You sound like, and then whether they're going to give you like 30,000 or 50,000, and how is that going to change anything? So I think that, you have to strike a balance between a client being informed and a client doing investigations, which is all good, and digging into things, which is good. But you don't want to get like paranoid. You don't want to go like be overly nervous and overly worried, because then it just leads to chaos, and it leads basically to you taking a gun and shooting yourself in the foot and ruining your case. And you're basically acting against your own lawyer's advice, which is never a good thing. So I hope this was helpful, but this is just some patterns that I've been seeing with certain clients, and I wanted to educate people about it. Okay, everyone, have a great day. Please like and subscribe to our channel and let us know how we can help you. Okay, bye-bye.